Joe Burrow, we're ready for you. Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hub. This is Talking Two-Tone. In today's episode, I'm going to be giving my most in-depth preview to date on the Week 12 matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. This game is a rematch of the AFC Divisional Round game being played once again in Nashville, where the Titans look to redeem their heartbreaking loss following a historic 2021 campaign that saw the most injured team in NFL history claim the 1 seed just to lose in the first round at home. If you enjoyed the preview, be sure to like the video and let me know your thoughts on the game down in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get into it. First off, I want to take a look at the injury reports as of Sunday night, November 20th. The Bengals have a banged up score of 71.1 per Fox Sports. That means they are the 12th most injured team in the league, or that they're 20th in terms of their health. And their injuries have unfortunately happened to some of their key players, namely Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase will both be listed as questionable for this game. For the Titans, the injury list barely fits on the page even after I downsize my spreadsheet. Tennessee has 26 players listed on their injury report, of which 8 will definitely be out for this game. Among the 18 listed as questionable to return in this game are stars Ben Jones, Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, Elijah Molden, Amani Hooker, and Christian Fulton. In a normal season, any of these injuries could be considered a massive loss, though the past 2 seasons have been anything but normal for the Titans, and they're on track to put last year's injuries record in danger. Despite this, Mike Vrabel continues to put the best unit possible on the field week after week, and this team continues to rattle off wins in the face of immense adversity. With that said, I don't put too much stock into the injury list, so long as 22 is in the backfield, 17 is taking the snaps, and Vrabel is on the sideline. Taking a look at the overall team stats through 10 games, the Bengals offense has been on fire, ranking 7th in total yards per game with 366.4 and 3rd in points per game with 26.5 points per game. Their defense is no slouch either, ranking 11th in total yards per game with 326.7 given up on average, while allowing the 15th fewest points per game at 21.5. They're not creating a lot of pressure on the quarterback, having totaled only 16 sacks on the season through their first 10 games. They are, however, doing a very good job in coverage, tying for the 12th most interceptions on the season with 8 total. For the Titans, their offense looks like a bottom feeder on paper, producing a measly 294.3 yards per game, which is the 29th best clip through 10 games, and they're only averaging 148.2 yards through the air. Despite this, they've somehow mustered up an average of 18.4 points per game, ranking 24th in the league, and the Titans' defense, however, looks so much better on paper, giving up just 349 yards per game and only 85.1 of them come on the ground. The Titans have the number 1 rushing defense in the league. The problem lies in pass coverage, as the Titans give up 272.6 passing yards per game on average, and even so they're only allowing 18.7 points per game, and they've sacked opposing quarterbacks 30 times on the season, which is the 9th highest clip in the NFL. Like the Bengals, the Titans are keen on forcing turnovers and capitalizing on interception opportunities. They have 9 so far this season, which is tied for the 8th most as a team. When you compare the quarterbacks, Joe Burrow is obviously having a better season than Ryan Tannehill despite being sacked 14 more times. On the season, he has 257 completions on 372 attempts. That's a 69.1% completion rate. He has a 102.8 QBR for 2,890 yards. He has an 11.25 average per completion. He's thrown 22 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Ryan, however, has completed 136 passes on 209 attempts. That's a 65.07 completion rate, a 97.9 QBR. He's thrown for 1,685 yards, 12.38 average per completion. He's thrown 10 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 18 times. The edge goes to Burrow here, but do not underestimate Tannehill in this game. Given the appearance of Burks on the scene last Thursday and Ryan's performance through the last 2 games against 2 of the best pass defenses in the league, he could easily have a monster day in this matchup. The Bengals have to be hoping that Joe Mixon is going to return in this game. The only reason I have him here is because he's designated to be eligible to return in this matchup, but that does not guarantee that he will. The Titans are the best run defense in the league, and the Bengals just may opt to wait one more week before trotting him back out on the field. However, on the season, Joe has 158 carries for a total of 605 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's averaging 3.8 yards per carry. He's only averaging 60.5 yards per game, and he has not fumbled so far this season. As opposed to the King, who has 230 carries on the season. He is leading the league in rushing with 1,010 yards. He has 10 touchdowns. He's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. He's averaging over 100 yards a game with 101 flat, and he's fumbled one time so far. Derek's going to be looking to have a monster game on Sunday, as he definitely wants revenge, and he's going to be against a defense that isn't so great against the run so far this season. My players to watch are always listed under offensive or defensive stars for future reference, or if you're just new around here. For the offensive side of things, Jamar Chase is listed as questionable for this game, so I chose to include him at the top in the event that he does play anyways. For Jamar, he has 47 receptions on the season at 605 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns, and he averages 12.9 per catch. T. Higgins has 50 receptions on the season. He had a monster game in this previous matchup against the Steelers. He has 712 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns, and he's averaging 14.2 per catch. For Tennessee, Robert Woods has 30 receptions on the season, 335 yards, 1 touchdown, 11.2 average, and a long of 41. Nick Westbrook-Akina has really shown up in big moments this season. He doesn't have that many receptions, but he always gets them on big third downs or in the red zone. He's got 14 receptions, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 20.4 per completion, and he has a long of 63. For Tyler Boyd, he has 32 receptions, 579 yards, 4 touchdowns, 14.8 average. Tight end Hayden Hurst, he's going to be a mismatch this weekend. I look for him to have at least 5 receptions, 55 yards, potentially a touchdown, but he's got 40 receptions on the season, 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8.3 average. Wide receiver Treylon Burks really showed up last week against the Packers. It was his first ever 100-yard game. He had the most receptions he's had as a Titan so far, and I look for him to have another big game this weekend and more following as we get towards the end of the season. He's getting healthier, and I'm really starting to like what I'm seeing out of him. Anyhow, he has 20 receptions on the season for 264 yards. He has not scored a touchdown yet. I look for him to potentially get it against the Bengals in this matchup. I've not predicted that he would get it in the last 3 games that he's played. I didn't feel like he was going to. I can kind of just smell it in the air this week. Treylon Burks is going to score a touchdown this Sunday. His longest reception came against the Packers. It was 51 yards. Tight end Austin Hooper's been playing really well of late. He's got 21 receptions on the season for 227 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 10.8 per reception, and he has the longest of 23 on the season. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, for the Bengals, linebacker Jermaine Pratt has 68 tackles on the season. He's their leading tackler. He's got 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 passes broken up, and 1 interception. Linebacker Logan Wilson has 58 tackles, 1 TFL, 2 passes broken up, 1 interception as well. Defensive back Jesse Bates has 42 tackles, 4 passes broken up, and 2 interceptions. The Titans' leading tackler is David Long. He's got 79 tackles on the season, 7 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 4 passes broken up. A lot of people aren't talking about him, but he is quietly one of the best linebackers in the league this year, and he's absolutely carved out a long-standing role going forward here in Tennessee. Defensive back Kevin Byard has 66 tackles on the season, 1 interception, and only 1 pass broken up, but he has 2 interceptions on the season that were called back, so really he's got 3 here. Defensive back Roger McCreary has 61 tackles on the season, 1 TFL, 1 interception, and 3 passes broken up. He's been getting targeted a lot this season. He's very young. He's going to have a really good career here with the Titans, barring, I'm not going to say it, the I word. Look for Roger McCreary to stick around in Tennessee for a while, and look for him to have a big game on Sunday. For the Bengals, Sam Hubbard, their defensive end, has had a really nice season. He's got 42 tackles, 8 TFLs, 3.5 sacks, 3 passes batted down, and 1 forced fumble. Defensive back Von Bell's had 46 tackles on the season, 4 for loss. He's got half a sack, 5 passes broken up, and 4 interceptions on the season. Defensive tackle B.J. Hill has 39 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks, 3 passes broken up, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. I have two defensive linemen listed here because they're going to be the key for the Bengals staying in this matchup. They're going to have to shut down the run early and take Henry out of the game. For the Titans, defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons should be healthy in this matchup. He's got 34 tackles on the season, 7 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 4 passes broken up, and 1 forced fumble. Christian Fulton, just like Danico Autry, they're both listed as questionable. He's got 36 tackles, 3 TFLs, 1 interception, and 5 passes broken up. If he doesn't play in this game, look for Joe Burrow to probably be over 300 yards. Defensive end Danico Autry, if he doesn't play in this game, you can absolutely bet that Burrow's going to be over 275, even if Fulton plays, because we won't be able to get as much pressure on him. He's got 20 tackles on the season, 6 TFLs, 7 sacks, 2 passes broken up, and 1 forced fumble. I have some players listed as honorable mentions. For the Bengals, running back Samaje Perine has been playing really well in Joe Mixon's absence, especially in terms of receiving out of the backfield. He has 36 carries for 163 yards on the season, no touchdowns, 4.5 average per carry, 16.3 average per game. He has not fumbled so far, but he has 22 receptions for 178 yards. He's averaging 8.1 yards per catch, and he's got 4 touchdowns on the season. For the Titans, linebacker Dylan Cole has 43 tackles, 1 sack, 3 TFLs, and 1 pass broken up. He has absolutely solidified a spot on this team going forward. We're going to have to pay him big money in the next 2 or 3 years. He's been playing really well, and he's solidified his position as the enforcer in the Titans linebacking core. Tight end Chig Okonkwo has been increasingly receiving attention as the season progresses. He's produced some big plays in some very big moments for the Titans. He has 8 receptions for 172 yards on the season, 1 touchdown. He's averaging 21.5 yards per catch, and he has a long of 48 yards on the season. Some key notes heading into this matchup. The Bengals are second in the AFC North, and they're tied for 5th in the AFC. They're currently on a 2-game win streak, and they have won 4 of their last 5 games. They're obviously not afraid of the Nashville crowd, having won there in the playoffs this past season. And T. Higgins is playing absolutely out of his mind in Jamar Chase's absence. You're going to have to look for him to have a huge game and be Joe Burrow's primary focus. And for the Titans, they're first in the AFC South. That might be locked up, especially if we win this game. We have 3 divisional games going forward, and unless we drop all 3 of them, it's going to be very tough for anybody else to catch up to us. We're tied for 2nd in the AFC right now. We're on a 2-game win streak, just like the Bengals, and we've won 7 of our last 8 games. We're looking for redemption in this game. Look for our players to be very emotional, trying to get payback for that playoff loss. Burks has been showing some extremely positive signs over the past 2 games, but really last week. And our defensive line, they've been struggling without Dupree and Autry. That could bode well for the Bengals in this matchup. And for my keys to the game, the Bengals are going to have to take advantage of the worst pass coverage in the league. They need to feed the hot hand, T. Higgins. He's been on fire as of late. Target him early and often. They need to hope for the return of Joe Mixon, because the Titans are number 1 against the run, and Samaje Perine could get beat up if it's just him toting the rock. They need to keep Joe Burrow standing upright. The Bengals have given up 32 sacks already this season, and they allowed 9 against the Titans in the playoffs. They need to win the battle for the time of possession. If the Titans have the ball for 35 minutes in this game, you can kiss the Bengals' chance of winning goodbye. They need to capitalize and score while in plus territory. They cannot have any punts when they get beyond the 50-yard line. And they need to bottle Henry up early. He needs to be under 3.5 yards per carry in the first half. For the Titans, they need to get Henry going early to take the pressure off of Tannehill. And when Tannehill does drop back, they need to test their luck deep with Burks and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine often. They need to swarm Joe Burrow all game long. He's been sacked 32 times. We got him 9 times in the playoffs. We need at least 3, maybe even 4 in this game. We need to continue having our next man up mentality. This is the 3rd week in a row I've said this. We have to be ready to adapt on the fly. Tennessee needs to focus on winning the positioning battle. We need to have a big day from Ryan Stonehouse, especially if our offense is looking sluggish like it has a few times this season. Ryan Stonehouse has really bailed us out of some really tough situations. Our offensive line needs to continue improving. They need to have less than 2 sacks given up and 5 hits on Tannehill in this game. We cannot get beat deep. We have to keep everything in front of the defense in this matchup, and we cannot have any turnovers, or the Bengals will absolutely capitalize off those and put us out of the game early. And finally, as tradition demands, my prediction and betting lines. Some of the lines I want to take aren't yet available on FanDuel Sportsbook, so I won't have a same game parlay set up for this one, but I do have my alternate spread and my predictions on hand. So for my first prediction, the Titans pass rush is going to wreak havoc despite its key injuries. They're going to have at least 3 sacks. Derrick Henry is going to hit 100. He will be over 100 yards rushing in this game and have at least 1 touchdown. Ryan Tannehill is going to deliver again. He will be over 225 yards passing, and he will have at least 2 touchdowns total in this game. Joe Burrow is going to ball out. He's going to be over 260 yards passing. He's going to account for at least 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins is going to continue his hot streak. I look for him to have at least 5 catches for over 75 yards. And the Bengals pass rush is going to make an impact in this game. They're going to have at least 1 sack. With all that taken into account, I think the Titans are going to win a close one at home. I've set my alternate spread for -2.5, so they're going to win by at least 3. That's plus 124 on FanDuel Sportsbook, and I'm taking Titans money line plus 108. Let me know your thoughts on my prediction and on the game in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like as it really helps the video out. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss my post-game review or the next preview. And that's going to do it for this one. I will see you all in the next one. Peace!